there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lucy and I vlog about various different topics including chronic illness, disability, business and employment and personal development. I wanted to do this video series about self-employment as it's something that is new to me and it's quite a good option for disabled and chronically ill people due to the flexibility you have in the work that you do, how you work, where you work, your hours, your work pattern and so on and so forth. It's not right for everyone, I recognise that, but I wanted to do this series all about self-employment, especially for people with chronic illness, and also focus on, writing a business plan and building your business to help you as disabled and chronically ill people to look at this as potentially an option for you. Obviously, it needs to be within your limitations, within your health. It might not be possible, but it's something to consider. I never thought I'd ever get off benefits or welfare for the US and into paid work. I went on benefits at the age of 17. I was on those until the age of 26. And now at the age of 26, I am self-employed. I'm earning more than what I was getting on benefits, and that is set to increase. I am loving my life and loving my work, really enjoying it. And it's been a great step forward. It's something I never thought that would happen, but it has. So to start off this series, I just thought I'd run a little bit through what self-employment actually is. Now, this is a broad theme about self-employment, but it might have UK specific information in it. So if you're in another country, things might be slightly different, but this is mainly for any person looking at self-employment, but some of the policy and strategy stuff will be about UK law and UK, HMRC and so on and so forth. So, what is self-employment? Self-employment is running a business, but you are the business. You are a sole trader. That's the legal status for self-employed in the UK. You're a sole trader, registered with the HMRC. You work for yourself. You can employ other staff, but you are the business. If you have a limited company, for example, that company is separate from you. It has a separate corporate identity. It's registered with Companies House. Self-employment, it's you. You are the business, you are liable for the business, so if you don't do some work or you don't get paid or something goes wrong, you are personally liable for that. Whereas if it's a limited company, the company is separate from you, it has a separate corporate identity and there's limited liability within that. So that's one thing to bear in mind. Obviously, self-employment is a great way to work because it allows a lot of freedom and flexibility, but you are liable for things if they go wrong. If you have a limited company, there's limited liability, but running a company can be quite costly in terms of accountancy. There's a lot of law to follow. You have to do accounts very often. Whereas I just do a self-assessment tax return every year. With a business, you'd have to get an accountant to put up some accounts and do an annual return and so on and so forth. So there's a lot to consider. Running a business has a lot more to it, but equally self-employment or sole trader status can have a lot to it. It's just what works for you in your business and your work. For me, I have a limited company. I set that up a couple of years ago, but it's a dormant company at the moment. I decided to go self-employed because it gives me the most freedom and flexibility at the moment. It's the least cumbersome way of managing my paid work and it just works better for me. So I'm self-employed, but my limited company is there in the background if ever I want to return to it. There are some things you need to bear in mind about being self-employed rather than being employed. So when you're employed, you have a regular income, you have sickness and holiday pay, you are employed by someone else. So, there's a lot of protections there. So if you're off sick, you can obviously claim sick pay from the company and then go on to statutory sick pay. When you are ill, when you are self-employed, you have to be able to cope with no income. You have to put money by all the time for a rainy day fund. So when you're poorly, you need to put that money by when you're working to pay for when you're not able to work. This is the only problem with self-employment disabled people is obviously if you're not earning enough to put money by, then you're not going to have money for when you're ill for 3 months and in hospital. You really have to think about your money. So you have to be able to earn enough to live on. You have to earn enough to put a cushion in, a cushion of money, a little pot of money aside for sickness and holiday. And you also need to bear in mind that you'll have to pay tax on what you earn over I think it's £12,000. So there's a lot to bear in mind. You also have to think about, are you going to be able to secure enough clients? How are you going to reach those clients? How are you going to serve those clients? Can you meet the needs of those clients? So are you well and stable enough to fulfill a job contract? So obviously if you're signing up all these contracts and then getting poorly and not fulfilling them, that could lead to legal action technically for, work not done. So you have to think about that. You also have to think about how you feel about keeping records of income and expenditure, cash flow, tax and tax self-assessment, company accounts. You have to think about, are you well and able enough to manage all of that? Because you have to be able to evidence everything, back up your expenses that you've claimed. You have to be able to think about all of this and be able to fulfill it, because that's part of your duty as a self-employed person. Or if you're running a company, you have to think about annual accounts, you have to think about your annual return, you have to think about all your documentation. Whereas if you're employed, your tax is paid, pay as you earn, you have holiday and sick pay, and so on and so forth. So there's 3 options really. You can do self-employed, you can set up a limited company, or you've got employed work. You have to do what's right for you as an individual. So what are the benefits of being self-employed? Now I've touched on a couple of these up to this point, but I thought I would lay out pros and cons. So number 1 is that you have the freedom and the flexibility to set your own hours, set your own work pattern, what days you work, what days you don't work, how you fit in all your different clients. You have more freedom and flexibility rather than working for someone else who dictates your hours. You can set your own schedule, so your work can be more varied. This is another reason that I am self-employed and not employed, is because I really enjoy the variability in my work. So I don't just do one thing, I do many different things. If you ask what my job title is, I do digital marketing, I do personal health budget brokerage, independent advocacy, I do admin, comms, I do social media management, website management, and speaking engagements, consultancy, training and workshops, facilitation. So I do lots of different things and I like that variability. Self-employment is a great way of doing that, because you can do lots of different jobs for lots of different clients to meet your varying needs and wishes and your interests. With self-employment, you can explore your creativity and your entrepreneurial spirit with your own small business. So you can think about dipping your toe in the water, testing things out, trying things for size, without too much trouble, without too much formality. You can actually try before you buy in a way. So before you set up a business, you can build a self-employment business and you can try everything out for size and see what works for you, what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, what works, what doesn't work. Because you might have 2 separate things you want to do, and one is digital marketing and one is something else, and you might think that something else was going to give you loads of money and the digital marketing would be a bit on the side, when actually you find that the digital marketing brings you the most money and that other item perhaps doesn't bring you as much money. But you know that because you've tried it out for size with self-employment, you know what it's like, you've experienced that. Another benefit of being self-employed is you can deduct certain utilities and expenses, including some of your bills if you work from home, telephone, internet and stuff like that. So you can get quite a lot back in expenses for things you've paid out in the running of your business. So that's kind of handy. So if you're working from home, you can get some of your utility bills and other items funded as expenses, so you don't pay tax on those. You have the opportunity to earn more. Actually, this isn't true for everyone. Some people might earn less than employed. Depends how much work you can do, what space you work in. But the fact is, you can earn a lot more because day rates and hourly rates, you can charge quite a lot as a self-employed individual. They're quite well paid depending on what field and arena you're in. So you have the opportunity to earn a lot more money than perhaps if you were employed, and you can get more quality income out of the time you work. So that's another thing to think about. And the other thing is also that you can cut your commute. So rather than having to commute to an office every day, you can work from home, you can work from wherever you are. It can even be portable, so you could be, in a beach in Barbados and still be able to do your work. That it's gives you a lot more flexibility. I work from home, I do all my stuff from my bed mostly, or in the lounge here. So it gives you a lot of freedom in that sense. Some of the cons of being self-employed are that you are not guaranteed an income. Another thing is that, there's no sick pay or holiday pay, so you have to put money by to cover those times or those expenses. When you're starting out, or if you're in a very challenging market, it can be hard to find clients. It's how you publicise it. Marketing is quite expensive unless you can do it yourself, and even then it's still quite expensive. So you have to really think about how you're going to get clients, raise awareness of your services, why people are going to choose you over other businesses or self-employed individuals, and also what you have to offer is meeting the needs of clients. It's no good you having all these services and there not being a need for those services. So market research before you start is important. As I mentioned earlier, that you bear the success or failure of your business yourself. If you are self-employed, you are the business. You are liable if it fails or if it succeeds. If you are employed, obviously the company takes that on. If you have a limited company, then you have limited liability and the company has a corporate identity separate from you. So you have to bear in mind that it's all on you if it goes wrong. Self-employment, by nature of its flexibility, lack of guaranteed work, can be harder to get loans, mortgages, support with renting agreements, because it's not a guaranteed income. So that can count against you in other respects, but if you can evidence how you're earning enough money, then there should be no issue. Another thing is that it can be quite hard to separate home life and work life. I definitely find this. I end up working most hours of the day because it's just easier to get things done, and I love what I do, but it's hard to separate the two. They kind of merge together because your personal life is your work life. You work from home, you do lots of different things. There's no clear barrier where on Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, you're in an office doing a job. It's just very different. That separation's not there, so you have to be quite disciplined. I fail at this terribly, but I'm hoping I'll get better over time. Another thing to bear in mind that if you're self-employed, that if you're working alone, it can be quite isolating and lonely. I'm very fortunate that a lot of my work involves events and meetings and committees and very other things. Also, my voluntary work still allows me to do a lot of committee and face-to-face work. So I enjoy that, but it can be quite isolating when you're working on your own in your bedroom or in your office 24/7. It seems like, it can be quite isolating, and the only person you might talk to is yourself or someone on the phone. You might not see a lot of people. So it's about, like with the home life thing, trying to be disciplined, trying to make sure you see friends regularly, trying to get out for a walk every so often, make sure you have a routine. You need to make sure that you're seeing people and experiencing, social interaction, because a lot of lone working and self-employment can be quite isolating. And also with self-employment, you will have to deal with the admin side of your business. You will have to do this largely yourself unless you can appoint accountants to do the finances and your tax returns. It can be quite time consuming. You have to factor overtime to do that admin. However, despite the cons and because of the pros, it's a fantastic opportunity to be self-employed. I hope this has given a good overview of what self-employment is and how it works for me. Check back for my next video in which I share my self-employment journey with you all, and future videos. I think there's going to be about 6 to 8 videos all about self-employment and working from home. And check back next time. Do hit the thumbs up. Leave your comments below. Are you self-employed? Do you have any questions? Do you have any thoughts? Leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to hit subscribe to see my videos come up, and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified. And check back regularly to Lucy's Light. I post on Monday afternoons and Thursday afternoons generally, so you know when to come onto my channel. And I'll see you next time. I hope today's been a good day.